Om Namo Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nakshtaprayeshu Abhadra Bhagavati Ruttavashroke Bhaktirbhavati Vaishnaki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantitam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 25, that is in Puranjan. Please continue.
How one becomes captivated by the association of one's dear wife is explained in this chapter by Narad Muni. Attraction for one's wife means attraction for the material qualities. One who is attracted by the material qualities of darkness is in the lowest stage of life, whereas one who is attracted by the material quality of goodness is in a better position. Sometimes we see that when a person is on the platform of material goodness, he is attracted more or less by the cultivation of knowledge. This is, of course, a better position, for knowledge gives one the preference to accept devotional service. Unless one comes to the platform of knowledge, the Brahma Bhuta stage, one cannot advance in devotional service. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18.54, Brahma Bhutaha prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. The platform of knowledge is advantageous because it is a means by which one may come to the stage of devotional service. However, if one takes to devotional service directly, knowledge is revealed without separate endeavor. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.7. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yada Ahaitukam. Devotional service automatically reveals actual knowledge of our material existence. One who is sufficiently intelligent immediately attains the stage of renunciation of so-called society, family, and love, as well as other things. As long as we are attached to society, family, and love of the material world, there is no question of knowledge, nor is there a question of devotional service. By directly taking to devotional service, however, one becomes filled with knowledge and renunciation. In this way, one's life becomes successful. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, 25th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Descriptions of the Characteristics of King Puranjana. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So now here we see that King Puranjan is completely getting enamored and captivated by the intelligence. Intelligence, which is always giving the material ideas. And in this analogy, in this, it is being compared to one's dear wife or one's dear husband. So here again, we have to be mindful that here Puranjan's wife is his own intelligence. Puranjan is every living entity. It is not just like husband and wife. Husband is the living entity, that may be male or female, and wife is the material intelligence, which is dodging a living entity to always try for materialistic activities. So, and this attraction, right? This attraction leads to many material qualities in the future. In our counseling, we have a nice joke. Like when we were doing our way back, it is like 15-20 years back, and when many Radha Gopinath counselors, they were taking one counselors training program for Pune devotees, and we were amongst the participant. So one very senior counselor was joking like this, and very good joke actually. So he said that better to be attracted by one's wife, and then I mean, take it with a pinch of salt. He said otherwise you will be attracted by somebody else's wife, right? And similarly, he was telling in the conversation, better to take care of one's own children very well. Otherwise, you will end up taking care of other children. So here we have to apply these principles again, the age appropriate. When one is in Grihastha ashram, and almost most of the attendees, most of us, we are in Grihastha ashram. It is our great duty and responsibility to take care of wife and children. So much so that when Srila Prabhupada, when he got the dream, right, and he got that startling dream, that very evangelic personality, his own spiritual master, Siddhanta Saraswati, appeared in the dream. This was 1956. Siddhanta Saraswati had already left the planet in 1936. So almost 20 years later, he got the dream after the departure of his guru. And his spiritual master was asking him to take sannyas. And if you read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit, you will see that Prabhupada says that my natural reaction was that how horrible. I don't know, how can I leave my wife and children? Srila Prabhupada, okay, writing. Uh, Srila Prabhupada writing this in the Prabhupada Lilamrit. So, and we know that how much supportive, his wife was to Krishna consciousness. Again, that was a very big plan of the Supreme Lord. And how much supportive his children were to the spreading of Krishna consciousness. And again, that was a very big plan of the Supreme Lord. How that was, that we will see later. But in spite of that, Srila Prabhupada was such a responsible grihastha. So, picking up a statement, I always tell these devotees that picking up a statement without understanding the context can lead only to aikantike harer bhakti utpata yaiva kalpate. At the same time, being in the grihastha ashram, one can always be beautifully engaged in devotional service. And this devotional service will raise one above na shochati, na kankshati. Shochati and kankshati, constantly hankering and lamentation. Right. And the natural swabhava of devotional service is Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Jayat Ahaitukam. Srila Prabhupada writes a beautiful statement here. By directly taking to devotional service, one becomes filled with knowledge and renunciation. Renunciation, when we say knowledge, of course, knowledge, so much knowledge we gain by the process of devotional service. You will be surprised to know how much knowledgeable the devotees are. Right? Even in 6 months of devotional service, and we are filled with great transcendental knowledge. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavanti Shabdate. Right? And then, we train devotees. And, Srila Prabhupada books, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. And renunciation. But the renunciation of a devotee is not the Falgu Vairagya. That one has to understand. This is exactly when Arjuna gets bewildered. Arjuna says, my dear Lord, you are describing me renunciation and you are again wanting to implicate me in action by I to continue the fight. What should I do? Tell me one thing. Should I fight or not fight? Should I renounce or fight? And the Lord says, Nishkam Karma Yoga. That is the real renunciation. Renunciation is not giving up the things. Renunciation is being responsible in your worldly duties at the same time, giving up the proprietorship and offering the results to the Supreme Lord. So, what a beautiful statement, right? By directly taking to devotional service, one becomes filled with knowledge and renunciation. So, that filled with renunciation is that type of renunciation and not Markata Vairagya as Rupa Goswami describes somewhere else. And in this way, one's life will become successful. Very beautiful chapter this is. Allegorical story of King Puranjan. So, we have completed chapter 25. Is there any discussion, question, comment? You are most welcome. So, I think we'll go ahead with chapter 26. Now, chapter 26 is all about King Puranjan goes to the forest to hunt. Okay, he's going for the hunting exercise. And how beautifully Narad Muni is narrating the story, right? It goes on chapter after chapter. Then King Puranjana dies, he becomes a woman in the next line. And then he comes across the Avidyata Sakha, who is always constantly being with King Puranjan. And this is very beautifully explained. So we come to chapter 26. King Puranjan goes to the forest to hunt, and his queen becomes angry. Text 1. नारद उवाच स एकदा महेश्वासो रथं पञ्चाश्वसम् अशुगं द्विषं द्विचक्रमेकेक्षां त्रिवेणुं पत्रबन्धुरम् एकरम्या इदं दमनम् एकनीडं द्विकूपरं पञ्चप्रहरं सप्तं विरुथं पञ्चविक्रमं हैमापस्करमारुह्य स्वर्णं वर्णाक्षयोषधि एकादश चमूनाथ पञ्चप्रस्थान आगतवनम्. Translation.
Translation. The great sage Narada continued, My dear king, once upon a time King Puranjana took up his great bow and equipped with golden armor and a quiver of unlimited arrows and accompanied by 11 commanders, he sat on his chariot driven by 5 swift horses and went to the forest named Panchaprastha. He took with him in that chariot 2 explosive arrows. The chariot itself was situated on 2 wheels and 1 revolving axle. On the chariot were 3 flags, 1 rein, 1 chariot driver, 1 sitting place, 2 poles to which the harness was fixed, 5 weapons, and 7 coverings. The chariot moved in 5 different styles, and 5 obstacles lay before it. All the decorations of the chariot were made of gold. Purport. These 3 verses explain how the material body of the living entity is under the control of the 3 qualities of the external energy. The body itself is the chariot, and the living entity is the owner of the body, as explained in Bhagavad Gita 2.13. Dehinochmin yataha dehe. The owner of the body is called the Dehi, and he is situated within this body, especially within the heart. The living entity is driven by 1 chariot driver. The chariot itself is made of 3 gunas, 3 qualities of material nature, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18.61. Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. The word yantra means carriage. The body is given by material nature, and the driver of that body is Paramatma, the super soul. The living entity is seated within the chariot. This is the actual position. The living entity is always being influenced by 3 qualities: sattva, goodness; rajas, passion; and tamas, ignorance. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.13. Tribhira guna mayar bhavahi. The living entity is bewildered by the 3 qualities of material nature. These 3 qualities are described in this verse as 3 flags. By a flag, one can come to know who the owner of the chariot is. Similarly, by the influence of the 3 qualities of material nature, one can easily know the direction in which the chariot is moving. In other words, one who has eyes to see can understand how the body is being driven, influenced by the particular type of quality of material nature. In these 3 verses, the activity of the living entity is described to prove how the body becomes influenced by the quality of ignorance, even when a person wants to be religious. Narada Muni wanted to prove to the king proved to King Prashinabharahista that the king was being influenced by tamoguna, the quality of ignorance, even though the king was supposed to be very religious.
Yeah, so it's a long purport. We'll divide in sections.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So now, my dear king, so here the discussion is Narada Muni is discussing this with Prachina Barhi to set the things in order. Prachina Barhi's sons, Prachetas, they have already gone to the forest. Prachetas were fortunate enough to meet Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva spoke Rudra Geetam, and they are performing austerity. In the meantime, Narada Muni, another Mahajan, is coming to the palace and is talking to Prachina Barhi, and he is continuing this allegorical story to make him renounced from the excessive animal sacrifices that he's engaged in. Right. So this is where this my dear king. So this king is Prachina Barhi. So my dear king Prachina Barhi, once upon a time King Puranjan took up his great bow, equipped with the golden armor and quiver of unlimited arrows and accompanied horses and went to the forest known as Panchaprastha. So what the bow, arrow and all the description is, Srila Prabhupada is beautifully explaining in the purport. He took with him the chariot with two explosive arrows. The chariot itself was situated on two wheels and one revolving axle. It had three flags, one rein, one chariot driver, one sitting place, two poles, five weapons, seven coverings. The chariot moved in five different styles and five obstacles lay before it, and all the decorations were made up of gold. Right. What a captivating story of King Puranjan. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that these three verses explain how the material body of a living entity is under the control of the qualities of the external energy. Right. The body is called as Deha and soul is called as Dehi. Right. Dehi means one who is situated in the body. Bhagavad Gita explains it. Dehi no smin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara. Said in the body, which is like a chariot, just like we enter the car, we enter the bus. Similarly, the living entity, the soul, enters the body, but the difference is that the body is constantly changing, right? Generally, we enter the car and we get down from the same car. But here, the body is constantly changing, kaumaram yovanam jara, right? And the living entity misidentifies itself with the bodies. So, because living entity enters the body to accomplish his desires, the body is also called as yantra. Yantra rudhani mayaya. Yantra arudha, when arudha means, to savar hona kisi ke upar, that is called as arudha. So, living entity gets on the yantra of the body, which is made up of mayaya, that is three modes of material nature. Tribir gunamayir bhavair, that the material body is made up of three modes of material nature, and also it is influenced by three modes of material nature. And therefore, these three modes are considered as three flags, right? And generally, whenever you see the flag, you will understand whose chariot it is. Like in the Mahabharat war, there is a description of the flag of Bhishma Pitamaha, the white emblem. And then there is flag of Arjuna, Kapidvacha. On his flag, there was Hanumanji situated. So, when the war is going on, you don't know who is coming, which warrior is coming. So, because, everybody is on the same level. Just like you cannot see if there are too many buses, you cannot see which bus is up behind the next bus. Because, one bus is hidden by the another bus. But similarly, the chariots are hidden by another chariots. But when you see the flag, you realize, oh, look at the flag. This is the flag of Bhishma, white flag. So this is Bhishma Pitama is coming to fight. This is Kapidvaja. This is the Arjuna's flag. So Arjuna is coming to fight. So by the flag, one can know owner of the chariot. Similarly, here the living entity is influenced by three flags. And by the flag of goodness, passion, or ignorance, one can very clearly know what is the destination of living entity is. Right. Many times, the stimulus to the activity, right? The activity is same. but based on the mood of the personality, the result will be different. Just imagine the same activity that your bike got punctured or your car got punctured. But one day when you are sorry, I'm on the road. Okay. So just imagine that, you had a great day and, you had whatever it is, whatever you wanted to do, you had that day. Maybe you topped the exam on that day and, maybe you got a promotion on that day. And while coming back, picking up the sweet box, your car got punctured. Your reaction will be different. It will be, okay, hota hai, no problem, I'll take care, this, that. If it is a bad day, somebody is just very badly, the boss has very badly shouted at you, you got, very less mark in the exam or something like that. Very bad day. And car got punctured. Activity is same, instance is same, but our mood is different. Our reaction also will be different. And therefore it is said, moods come from the modes, and from the modes comes the reaction, and the reaction decides the destination. And therefore, therefore, the constant strive of a devotee is to always be situated in Sattva Guna. Right. That doesn't mean that devotee doesn't become angry. That doesn't mean that devotee doesn't become frustrated. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have the challenging situations in life. But he understands that situations happening in my life is only the 10% of the problem. The 90% of the problem is how I am going to react to that situation. And therefore, this ability to respond is called as responsibility, right? So there is a stimulus in our life, and based on in which mode we are situated in, our response will depend. And devotee categorically tries himself to be situated with the flag, with the dvaja of Sattva Guna, so that his response will move towards solving the problem instead of creating or aggravating the problem. Right. And one of the very important part of that is how we speak. Right. So once I was reading one very beautiful statement. It says, what we speak is only 10% of the fight. How we speak is the 90% of the fight. Like, two people are fighting over something. What we speak is only 10%. How we speak, like this is Kali Yuga, externals matter far more than the intent. How we speak is far more important. Of course, what we speak is absolutely important. But this how we speak will come from the mood which we are in. Mood will come from the mood, and therefore, a strive of a devotee is always to remain in Sattva Guna. Sometimes, while performing religious activity, we may think we are in Sattva Guna, but we may glide down to Tamoguna. And this was the typical condition of Maharaj Prachina Barhi. He was thinking that he was doing one yajna after another. And but while doing, Prabhupada writes here beautifully, similarly, by the influence of the three modes of material nature, one can very easily know the direction in which the chariot is moving. In other words, one who has eyes to see can understand how the body is being driven, influenced by a particular type of quality of material nature. In these three verses, the activity of the living entity is described to prove how the body becomes influenced by the quality of ignorance, even though the person wants to be religious. Right? So, Prachina Barhi, he was a very, very, obedient personality. He was very, following the Shastra. But by excessively following the Shastra in a little bit mindless way, this is Rupa Goswami describes this as, what is that verse? What he calls this? Atyahara prayasasya prajalpa niyamagraha. Yeah, he calls it niyamagraha. That excessively following the niyama, forgetting the spirit behind the niyama. What happened here is, King Prachina Barhi, although he was into performing the yajna, his body was completely influenced by Tamoguna, even though he wanted to be religious. Narada Muni wanted to prove this to King Prachina Parishad that the king was being influenced by Tamoguna, by the quality of ignorance, even though the king was supposed to be very religious and situated in Sattvaguna. How beautifully Srila Prabhupada, uh, describes this in the purport. Very beautiful. Yeah, please continue.
According to Karma Kandiya, the process of fruitive activities, a person performs various sacrifices directed by the Vedas, and in all those sacrifices, animal killing or experimenting on the life of animals to test the power of Vedic mantras is enjoined. Animal killing is certainly conducted under the influence of the modes of ignorance. Even though one may be religiously inclined, animal sacrifice is recommended in the Shastras, not only in the Vedas, but even in the modern scriptures of other sects. These animal sacrifices are recommended in the name of religion, but actually animal sacrifice is meant for persons in the mode of ignorance. When such people kill animals, they can at least do so in the name of religion. However, when the religious system is transcendental, like the Vaishnava religion, there is no place for animal sacrifice. Such a transcendental religious system is recommended by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Sarvadharman paritejya mam ekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all the sinful reactions. Do not fear, because King Prachina Parishad was engaged in performing various sacrifices in which animals were killed. Narad Muni pointed out that such sacrifices are influenced by the mode of ignorance. From the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, it is said, Dharma projita kaitavotra. All kinds of religious systems that are involved in cheating are completely kicked out of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Dharma, the religion dealing with one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, animal sacrifice is not recommended. In the performance of Sankirtana Yajna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, there is no recommendation for animal sacrifices.
Yeah. So further, Srila Prabhupada explains, according to Karmakanda philosophy, the fruitive activities, there are different yagyas. And these are part of the Veda. In fact, the Vedas, they contain almost like 96% of the Veda is all about different karma kanda. And these are very amazing to hear. Yamimam pushpitam vacha pravadanti vipaschitah vedavadartah partha. And therefore it is explained that Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atmanapto. Attaining the Supreme Lord is very difficult through Vedas because one will be lost with so many sacrifices, just as the case was Maharaj Prachina Parishad was. He was following the Vedas, he was following the Karma Kanda, but he was lost in Karma Kanda. Right. So, in the Karma Kandiya activities, there is to test the efficacy of the Veda, there of the Yagya, there is this animal sacrifice. Now, this animal sacrifice is not just, in the Vedic things. To test the efficacy of anything, they will do the animal sacrifice. Even in the modern times, you have the clinical research going on. We have the veterans here who are in clinical research, right? So they also know that to check the efficacy of the medicine, first they will do research on the animals. Yes, it is in a way animal sacrifice, correct. And then in the astrophysics, if you want to test something, whether the humans can survive at that atmospheric condition, PVT condition, then you will not directly send astronaut. You will first send some lamb or some. So some animal will be always tested, guinea pigs, and that is nothing but animal sacrifice of the modern times. But this animal sacrifice is certainly under the mode of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada writes here, not only in the Vedas, but in the modern scriptures, right? There are recommendations of animal sacrifice. And, people will take this so enthusiastically and crores of bakris will be cut on a particular day. Prabhupada writes about other sects. But this animal sacrifice is meant for the persons who are in the mode of ignorance. It is not for the Vaishnava religion. Prabhupada says the sect which is already on the transcendental platform, there is no place for animal sacrifice. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo. So when we surrender to the Supreme Lord and become a Vaishnava, there is no need of animal sacrifice. All kinds of religious systems which are involved in cheating are completely kicked out of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma prochita kaita votra paramo. And thus, the only sacrifice recommended is Yagyai Sankirtana Prave, chanting the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And there is no place for animal sacrifice in Vaishnava religion. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Prabhupada.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
थैंक यू प्रभुजी हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी प्रभुजी एक प्रश्न होता
Yes, Prabhu.
प्रभुजी मराठीमध्ये म्हण आहे ना ज्याचे त्याचे कर्म जैसे फळ देतो रे ईश्वर ओके तर दिस इज ऍप्लिकेबल इररेस्पेक्टिव्ह ऑफ कास्ट क्रीड अँड कलर करेक्ट
Correct.
तर जर हे असं आहे देन व्हॉट इज द आय वोंट यूज द वर्ड बेनिफिट देन व्हॉट इज द नेसेसिटी ऑफ डुइंग द chanting
What is the
नेसेसिटी म्हणजे काय गरज काय चॅन्टिंग करायची जर आपल्याला फळ आपल्या कर्मानेच मिळणार असेल तर मग
yeah. So when we are so that is the cycle, na? That is exactly called as samsara. We do the activities, we get the result. We do the activities, we get the result. Somewhere we have to do the activities which will go beyond the results. So there are three types of karma. One is called as a karma, another is called as vikarma. So karma we will is called as a good activities. One is what is one supposed to do. Roughly you can say punya. Vikarma is viruddha karma. Viruddha karma means viruddha to punya is papa.
okay.
So when we do punya, we will be, promoted to the heavenly planets. We will enjoy the life, and a lot of other good things will happen to us. But still, we are bound to the material world, which is samsara. Correct? Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Abrahma bhuvanal loka. Punaravartino arjuna. And when somebody does papa, of course, he will be going to the hellish planet, suffering in the hellish planet, and he will be bound to the sinful life. Tanaham trishitaha kruran samsareshu naradhaman kshipami ajasra shubhan. So either punya or papa, one is stuck in the material world. If it is punya, one is stuck with the golden shackles. If one is papa, one is stuck very badly with the iron shackles. But papa and punya, both karma and vikarma, gets one stuck in the material world. So then Arjuna is asking then what to do? Better not to do anything. Right? Lord Krishna says, no, you cannot do like that. Nahi kasyat kshanamapi jatu tishtanti akarmakrit. You cannot spend even a moment without not doing anything. Then Arjuna says, my dear Lord, then what should I do? If I do good thing, I will be stuck. If I do bad thing, I will be stuck. If I don't do this thing, that is not possible. Then what? Then Lord Krishna says, do your activities as sacrifice to me. Right? And this is called as akarma. What is akarma? Akarma means doing the one's karma activities, but as an offering to the Supreme Lord. Then there will be no result of such activities, no material result in terms of getting bound to this material world, either positive or negative, but such activities will liberate a personality. So one has to connect with the Supreme Lord. And when one has to connect with the Supreme Lord, that process is called as yoga. And this particular age, the yoga is the easiest way to connect with the Supreme Lord is chanting the holy names. So we chant the holy names, perform our activities, stay away from the sinful life, and that is how we conduct our life. Right?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.